Hello, my name is Sebastien Boyesen. I'm a sculptor and I live and work in Llangrannog. And we're here in my studio today and we're just looking at the kind of model of Cranogwen, which we've been working on for the last couple of years really. And it's a project which is part of the Monumental Women scheme where we're doing famous Welsh women, making statues of them. And I've been lucky enough to be commissioned to do this one, which is it's just an over-life-size portrait of Cranogwen. And the kind of design process started a couple of years ago when we first started thinking about what would Cranogwen have looked like. How would we portray her in the kind of the modern environment? How would we kind of make her look and have all of the things that people know about Cranogwen? And everyone's got a kind of preconceived idea of what Cranogwen might have looked like and the clothes that she would have worn. And there's only very few photographs that have ever been taken of Cranogwen that we know about. And when you see her, they're obviously photographs that were taken for her for publicity shots or something like that. And so she's dressed up in all her finery and she's wearing jewellery and she's got all these elegant clothes on. So what we did was hire and buy all of the costume. We had the captain's jacket remade by a modern seamstress, by a seamstress today rather. So it's not an original jacket, but it's a copy of it. And we hired a dress, in fact from the Welsh National Opera, which would have been a dress that someone would have worn in the 1870s. And we tried to get all of this, to sort of like feel right, because she would have dressed up like this. This is how she would have been when she was at the height of her powers, doing her talks and her tours and her, her lectures. And we want to see someone, who's a powerful, presence. And a lot of the development of the job, a lot of the development of the project was just talking with our community group to see what Cranogwen would look like. And how she would stand, what would she be doing with her hands, all of these things. And we just felt that, it'd be brilliant. She's actually got, she's holding a book in her hand. So she's got a book like this where she's reading, so she's giving a talk or she's lecturing. And we wanted her to be, kind of fairly traditional. But the thing that we've changed with this sculpture here, as you can see, we've got all of the fracture lines here, and this is all about kind of representing how we felt Cranogwen must have been when she was a young girl growing up in Llangrannog. She must have gone down to the beach probably every day, like we all do here, and walked on the beach, and all of the rocks that are still there, the view, the landscape, everything, nothing has changed. And I can imagine her going down there and standing on the rocks and, with a head full of poetry, just sort of thinking, what does this all mean? What can I do with it all? And so we've, it's just like bursting with ideas trying to get out. So how we've portrayed her here is we've got her poetry, her words. These are the exact words that she's written as part of her poetry, her work in poetry. And so we've got this to represent almost like the white alabaster that comes out of the rocks down there on the beach. You can see the alabaster just sort of like forcing its way out, and that just seemed like alabaster that comes out of the rocks down there on the beach. You can see the alabaster just sort of like forcing its way out, and that just seemed like the ideal way of representing how it must feel to be a poet. I mean, she didn't have the kind of, the internet, she didn't have the contacts. I mean, how did she learn all of this stuff? Where did it all come from? And it's just fantastic to sort of like, to think that it's all just kind of bursting out of her, and that's what we tried to portray there. And and the fractures of the rock. This is just to kind of it's a comment about where she was born. You know, it's Llangrannog, and it's showing how all of the fractures in the rock are so much part of the landscape down here that we wanted to get that, you know, a very strong sort of like identity with Llangrannog. So at the moment it's mostly finished now, and it's all gone off to the foundry, so we're waiting for it to be cast into bronze and then assembled. So it's only a few months now before the final thing, before the unveiling, and we're hoping that it all comes together really well. And but we're very excited about seeing, you know, the finished thing when it's all together.